back again for our final session of the day. How quickly time passes, for me anyway. But we're back. You're listening to IBGR.network, and IBGR is a call sign as a radio station, but we are more than a radio station. We are an amazing network, and I'm your host, Jan Robberts, Global Influencer. This is episode 5. If you just joined it, you can always get the rest on all the podcasts when they get downloaded on the website. But this is about cultural awareness in business in our P1 People Lane People Skills for Success at IBGR.network. And you can go to our website, IBGR.network, and download the show notes. I say it right every time now. I had so many difficulties with that earlier on, but we're getting there. So yes, I have just been informed, I said 139 countries, and I now think it is actually, I need to really check that, it is actually 142 countries we are in already. So just in 1 week, we're already grown by another 3 countries. We're getting there slowly, but we're getting there all the same. It's amazing in just 3 seasons, in our 3rd season, that we already cover listeners from 142 countries. Well done, team. Well done, team, indeed. And now, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the points in cultural awareness and why it is important in business. But because understanding cultural differences is essential in the workplace, both internally and externally. Get it right, and you lay the foundations of great work and relationships. Get it wrong, and you can cause offense, lose trust, and jeopardize a lucrative contract, as I mentioned earlier. And that's where my partner, I've seen it so often when Artie gets called in as a foremost diversity and inclusion specialist. It's actually quite often the challenges because people do not understand each other because they're different. Not when they're similar, but they're different. And when they find out that we're more similar than we are different, it is very refreshing. But as more and more firms employ people from diverse cultures and serve clients with business operations in multiple countries, there is a constant danger of inadvertently committing a cultural, that's not mine by the way, a cultural faux pas. A faux pas, as I would say it. You can do it in any way you like, but that's what it was. While minority insensitivities may be brushed off with an embarrassed smile, cultural insensitivity can seriously irk employees, customers, partners, and suppliers, especially when they think you should know better. And we all should know better by now. We got all this information at our fingertip. But from failing to bow in the right manner in Japan to using your left hand inappropriately in the Middle East or failing to say what you mean in the United States or Australia, it is easy to get off on the wrong footing when meeting people from different cultural backgrounds. Now, there's already some points, and each point can be elaborated on. But according to research by CT Business Travel, the French prefer to shake hands lightly, as do the Japanese and South Koreans. And while pre-business chit-chat may be customary in Brazil, it is not the case in Russia, Switzerland, and a number of other countries. So cultural awareness goes far deeper than simple manners in business meetings. It's about understanding local customs, traditions, governments, and economies. It's also about being sensitive to company cultures, values, and individual personalities. So this reading the air is something. And English is widely used in global business, but it is important to respect the local language of people you are doing business with, even if it's just a few words of welcome. Again, in the diversity and inclusion training, there's always a big poster up where it says, it all starts with a greeting. I've seen it so often now, people, if you can greet somebody, just greet somebody in their own language and in their own way, whether you put both your hands together, namaste, or whether you bow in Japan to people, konnichiwa, whatever, whatever you say in the local languages and just a greeting, it shows you're trying, and that alone will set you aside from any other people. If it comes to a contract being awarded, that might just get you the contract when other people try to put a hand out to somebody who doesn't shake hands, or just about squeeze the living daylights out of somebody with a handshake when they don't do that kind of stuff. So while being fluent in English may give you an advantage in negotiations, it's how you convey your message that's really important. This means understanding subtle non-verbal communication such as body language and being able to read the air, to understand subtle signals and silent pauses, especially in Japan. Now, I study Japanese martial arts, so I know a fair bit about that kind of stuff, and it's very interesting indeed. But knowing what to do and how to communicate with people from different cultures will not only help you develop good relationships around the world, it will also help you foster trust in your business. And as somebody from a Mumbai office of a global accounting firm, Mazar, says, understanding culture is critical. Even for something like presenting a proposal to a client, Understanding how the other person is going to view it is so important. When I make when I am making a proposal to the US client or a European client, for example, it is very different. And then there is a guy called James Kalman, a senior advisor and CEO at the Jakarta office of international accounting firm Moores Rowland, Indonesia, says cultural sensitivity is incredibly important, but things are changing. It's a lot better now because the world is much more globalized, of course. But that doesn't mean you should ignore it altogether. No, you should do your best. Commenting on the length to which business professionals go to foster good customer relationships, James adds, I remember a friend of mine in the US who was doing business with Japan. Well, the Japanese were buying a lot of real estate in New York, and when they came to the US, my friend would leave slippers for them at the hotel so they could walk to the bathroom. How important, how simple, and it seals deals. In fact, strictly speaking, it is a good etiquette in Japan to have guest slippers as well as bathroom slippers and toilet slippers. Wow, simple little things make a big difference. So you can learn from experience. So how can we improve our culture sensitivity to develop successful working relationships around the world? Well, James, who actually moved from the USA to Asia in 1991, says much of the cultural sensitivity is down to learning from experience. Now, in Indonesia, as many cultures in this part of the world, you do not hand something to somebody with your left hand. It is rude. This is because the left hand is used for cleaning oneself after going to the bathroom. And I mean, that's something that is so simple, but again, powerful if you try to do that kind of thing. Don't, people. So when you go to when he goes back to the US and goes to a McDonald's drive-thru, he always reaches across with his right hand to pay because he's so conditioned. Occasionally, he says, if I do use my left hand because I'm holding something in my right hand, I always say maaf, which means sorry in Indonesian. So, I mean, if you need to do it, the apology to know that you recognize their cultures is so important. Then we have things like doing your homework. I mean, Fali Bilimoria stresses the importance of researching the people you're going to meet. You have to plan in advance how you will deal with a person, he says. So it also depends on the industry. It's not just country to country differences. In India, for example, the average age of employees in the software industry is between 25 and 30. And the management team is also young and adept to making quick decisions and taking a few chances. If your advice is a little conservative, you will not find favor with the team and be regarded as a hindrance to their business plans. Wow. Similarly, when dealing with people, he stresses that you need to be sensitive to the differences in a particular setting, he adds. It all depends on the persons you are dealing with for particular situations. Then the importance of training. To minimize the risk of cultural insensitivity, many companies working across international borders are investing in cross-cultural or intercultural training for staff, clients and other stakeholders. And they include members of all kinds of alliances and the world's largest alliance of independent accounting and consulting firms. So they do all this kind of stuff on a global scale because they know its importance, and that's when people come in from all kinds of cultures to actually realize that we need to do training. And I say I've been in the training room many times now, and we will be in it many times again. But there are so many examples, but asking the right questions. Cross-cultural training is paramount, and it's also a good idea to vet staff at the recruitment stage to assess their level of cultural sensitivity. And that even might make a big difference because, it is very important. It actually highlights the importance of being sensitive to every aspect of culture, from language to industry to tradition in any business situation. But the key is to be able to acknowledge cultural differences without making value judgments. And that's what it's all about. It is about respecting that everyone is different, both within and outside the organization. Just remember that people do business with those they know, like, and trust. And they will like and trust you much more when you get to know them. When they get to know you because they respect you, because you respect their cultural differences. The handshakes, the greetings, some of the habits that you need to do to realize that are different with the people you do business with, because it's not about you. If you want to do business with other people, you better learn about them, and especially those that are different. Now, I hope that was a little bit helpful. It was a cultural overview and some points that should help you in doing this. So, what is coming up next? Well, we have another more exciting shows coming up. After me in primetime region, you will meet in a few minutes Tina Ogbugo from Nigeria, and then my partner Arthur Moore from South Africa, followed by Sadiqa Kebi from Lebanon. International group altogether. So, my next show will also be about entrepreneurs and leadership. One of my favorite subjects, leadership and entrepreneurs. So, don't miss next Thursday either. But, whether you're a CEO of a large corporation or a small business owner, whether you're running a local business group or sports club, whether you are a mompreneur or someone wanting to do international growth or reach your God-given potential, I can certainly help you. I will assist you in your organization to discover the challenges in leadership and communication and discuss effective global and local solutions. But we also deliver a sustainable development program for your entire organization, as well as provide amazing personal assessments for more effective connections at work and at home. My services include coaching, training, facilitation, and energetic keynotes. And how can you get a hold of me? Well, you can get a hold of me on our website, www.keyleadership.com or www.jrspeakersclub.com, or you can find all my details, of course, on the ibgr.network site. And of course, if you go to our Key Leadership Institute website, you can also download a free ebook with a lot of successful case studies we've done in different areas, especially the Sustainable Personal Development Program. It's amazing. Now, my next show will be next Thursday at 11 o'clock. We are now firmly entrenched in the winter time zone or the summer time zone, depending where you are. But all these challenges which the people behind the scene, like especially Bill and Donna, have taken care of is amazing. It was an absolute nightmare. But they've taken care of it all. So now you have been listening to the ibgr.network, and I look forward to our next show already. But I'm your host, Jan Robberts, and I look forward to be with you at the same time next week, where it's entrepreneurs and leadership. Now remember, you are absolutely amazing, and I'll see you next week. But stay here for our next session.